there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My cousin is having a baby and demands I hand over my savings. After that, am I the jerk for refusing to be a stepmom to my husband's kid? And after that, would I be the jerk for not wanting to hang up my daughter's artwork? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take anyone else's savings. How can I if you don't have any savings, Reddit boy? So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My cousin is having a baby and demands I hand over my savings. I, 24 female, am a bit paranoid when it comes to money. I didn't grow up in poverty, but times are tough and the idea of living paycheck to paycheck makes me uncomfortable. It's important to mention that now I have a stable, good-paying job, but I struggled a lot during college since my parents weren't able to save enough for my college fund, so I worked bad jobs and I was constantly exhausted during those years. I still ended up in some debt and I want to be free of it ASAP. It's also important to mention that I come from a pretty religious family. When I landed this job, I decided to start an emergency fund. I put aside a few $100s every month so that, in case of anything happening, I get sick, lose my job, etc., I will not end up in more debt or even worse. The only people that know about it are my sister, who also plans to start her own emergency fund after she graduates and lands a good job, and I. I 100% trust my sister, so I think my aunt or someone else overheard us talking about it. Now the issue is this. My cousin, 22, male, his girlfriend, who's also 22, is pregnant, and they decided to keep it even though they know darn well they can't afford it. None of them have a stable job, inheritance, or anything. A few days ago, he came to ask me to give him my emergency fund since he's having an emergency. I was speechless. I asked him what was he talking about, even though I knew, but I couldn't believe someone can have this audacity. He told me he knew I have some savings and he desperately needs them. He didn't even mention giving the money back. I told him those are my savings for when I have an emergency, but he pulled the family helps family card. I still said no. While I understand they are in a difficult situation, I still think it's not fair that I'm asked to pay for his mistakes. I told him they should think more about what they're going to do in the future and how they're going to support this kid if none of them have a stable income, and if I give them my savings, that money is only enough for a few months. I didn't mention not having the baby or adoption or anything, just that they are irresponsible for having a kid when none of them are financially stable. He eventually left me alone, but started to tell the rest of the family that I told him to not have the baby, which is not at all true. My parents and my sister are on my side, but the rest of the family has started to harass me and are calling me a godless jerk. So, am I the jerk for keeping my savings? Not the jerk. His lack of planning is not your emergency. This story is also a good example of how letting other people tell your story usually works against you. For the members of your family that you care about, I would reach out to them and clear up any misconceptions. Obviously, the people calling you godless are probably not the people you want around. You could even say that you meant adoption. I'm religious, and I don't know of anyone that has a problem with giving up a baby for adoption. Not the jerk. In my opinion, it doesn't matter who would tell this story. What they'll hear is, cousin needs financial help, and OP didn't help him even though she has the money to do it. Respectfully, that's just not true. It always matters who tells the story first. If his family thinks you are so awful, why aren't they handing over their cash? OP, I don't know if anyone else besides my parents has any savings, and I don't want to bring this up because I'm afraid I may give them another reason to harass me. Not the jerk and far from it. If you give him money, he'll probably come back asking for more. You earned your money. His kid is not your burden and not your problem. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her cousin? Please let us know. Rule number 1 of having lots of money. Never tell anyone you have lots of money, especially if they're family. Am I the jerk for refusing to be a stepmom to my husband's kid? I know that sounds terrible, but hear me out. I've been newly married for around 6 months, and my husband has a 15-year-old son, Jason. My husband is only 32, so he had him early. It's also just been the two of them until I came into the picture 2 years ago. His kid never liked me, which I get. I made the duo a trio, and he missed just his dad. That said, my husband really wants to do the whole family thing that his kid didn't get growing up. He has a lot of guilt about his mom, who hasn't been in the picture since, his birth, and wants him to have a stable relationship to look up to like his parents. Now, Jason and I aren't openly hostile, but it's uncomfortable. uncomfortable enough that I decided to sit him down and ask him what he wants from me. Immediate answer: "You're not my mom. You're not my parent. Don't act like it." And I said okay. That took him by surprise, and I asked if, by any chance, I could at least be his friend. At the time, he said he wasn't sure, and I told him that was fine, and to just tell me when he's ready and what he wants from our relationship. But until then, I won't try and parent him. That little talk did wonders. He avoids me less, talks to me more. He actually initiated a conversation with me the other day, and I almost cried. And even will watch movies with me, like if I'm watching a movie already, and he will sit down with me, and I'll restart it. Not much talk, but presence. My husband noticed and was initially happy until he asked Jason what changed, and he didn't like the answer. He confronted me about it and said I should have talked to him about the relationship I was trying to have, and that me being a friend is inappropriate and I need to be a parent. That's what I signed up for. It put him in a bad position of not being able to use my input for future childcare choices, and I'm sabotaging being a mom. And here's where the "am I the jerk" is. I said, I'm never going to be his mom. He doesn't want me to, so I'll do whatever I can to make him at least not hate being around me. That made him cry, and he said it felt like I already gave up before I tried. Jason was not present for this fight, by the way, and my husband isn't a yeller. Think emotional conversation, but not mean. That kid is his life, and I know he just wants the best, but I think this is the best. But I may have overstepped here by going over his head and straight to Jason. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You did it the right way. Hubby needs to back off and let you two have whatever relationship works best for you right now. Not the jerk. At this point, I'd say you're on the right track with Jason. He seems to be warming up to you, and it's not forced, which is what you want. At 15, forcing a step-parent onto him probably isn't going to go well. He'll just resist and go back to avoiding you and not speaking. It takes time to build a relationship like that and get him to trust you, and I think you're doing just fine. Not the jerk. By allowing Jason to set his boundaries and coming to you, you're opening up a relationship that was closed in the beginning. Over time, he may come to trust you and respect your input as you have respected him and his boundaries. It may not be the role your husband envisioned, but it's a step in the right direction to open communication and maybe one day reach that motherly role your husband envisions. Your husband needs to readjust his vision and seize the positive vibes of building a relationship over forcing one. P.S. Maybe you should have talked to your spouse first, but you also didn't know how the conversation was going to go with Jason, and your husband was pushing for a motherly role. What is more motherly than listening to your child and putting their needs over your own wants? Would I be the jerk for not wanting to hang up my daughter's artwork? My daughter, who's 12, is a very good artist and recently unveiled something that she was working on for a couple weeks. A portrait of our family, and she wants to hang it up in the house. This isn't a picture of stick figures. This is a semi-realistic charcoal sketch of me, my husband, our dog, and our cat. But my son and her brother, who's 10, aren't in the picture. My daughter claims that she forgot and there wasn't any room for him in the picture, but I'm very sure she did it on purpose. To explain why I'm sure this was on purpose, I have two reasons. First off, the portrait depicts me next to my husband and my daughter between us with a cat on her lap. The dog is next to us all. I'm no artist myself, but it's very clear just what my daughter was trying to say. Second, my daughter has always had a very adversarial relationship with my son. She has always tried to get him in trouble, bullied him, and has resented him for existing. My son doesn't do much to aggravate her anymore, at least. He used to try to get on her nerves, but that stopped during lockdown. He doesn't go into her room. He doesn't try to take her things. He only reacts to her. Most days, he's never in the same room except for meals. And even when we have meals, he never talks to her. She never says anything to him, but at least they aren't fighting. The picture took her a couple weeks to do, and this isn't something on an A4 piece of paper. This was done on a canvas, 18 by 24, with charcoal. It was pretty clear that a lot of her work was put into it, yet she could include our dog and our cat, but not her brother. Husband thinks it would be rude to not hang it up, but I'm pretty sure that our son will feel excluded because he wasn't in the picture. Husband says that this is actually improvement since the last time our daughter drew our son, it was done to anger him. This is, of course, raising red flags to me that he considers exclusion to be improvement. Yes, she has used her art to demean my son in the past. My son is aware of what my daughter did, but he's trying to put up a brave front. He tries to say that my daughter doesn't bother him, but I know it really does hurt him. I know his tells. I'm thinking that maybe not wanting to hang it up might cause discouragement for her that we don't want to show it off to anyone. So I'm wondering, would I be the jerk if I didn't want to hang this in the house because my daughter didn't draw her whole family? How about instead of debating what artwork to put on the wall, you take your kids to therapy to deal with whatever the underlying issue is here? Don't stop at the kids. I think it needs to be the whole family. For real. And if Hubs won't, the daughter definitely needs it. Hubs needs it because he thinks it's okay what daughter did. Son needs it because of his feelings and the family dynamics, and OP needs it to figure out what happened to her family. You absolutely should not hang that in a common space in your home. Tell your daughter she can hang it in her room, but that only family portraits that include the whole family will be on display. Hanging it anywhere your son could see it would be a slap in the face. 100% this. I would absolutely let her hang it in her own space. It's not a family portrait if it doesn't have the whole family. It can't go in a family space. But there also seems to be a bigger picture issue here relating to the brother. That requires some investigation, some reflection, compromise, therapy, and huge boundaries, like only family photos go on the family wall, just as a start. I'm not convinced the son hasn't previously done something to elicit this behavior from her, especially since you state he doesn't do anything to aggravate her anymore. Okay, what did he used to do? You wouldn't be the first parent to wave away their son's wrongdoing. Edit. You're the jerk. Just confirmed my suspicions. Absent parenting led to this, and the son is just as much to blame as the daughter for them not getting along. But you've unfairly pinned all the blame on the daughter. Well, what do you think? Should OP hang up this artwork in the living room or not? Please let us know. When I was little, my brother and I were always fighting. I guess I just thought that was normal. Am I the jerk for expecting my husband to cook for us while he's not working? My husband broke his ankle and had to have surgery. He has a cast for now and crutches to get around the house and has been home less than a week. Normally, we either take turns cooking or cook together when we both get home. But since he'll be home for a number of weeks, I told him he should start covering dinner for both of us. He said he'd do what he could. The first day, all he made was grilled cheese and soup. Stuff like that doesn't really constitute a meal, or he orders takeout. Once in a while, okay, but it's been like that ever since he's been staying home. Yesterday, I asked him to do something with more sustenance, like a baked dish with a side salad. Protein and vegetable sides. My husband argued and said he didn't think he'd be able to do something like that because he's supposed to be staying off that food as much as possible for the time being. And he brought up being in pain. I totally get the pain, but I reminded him that there were ways to make a good dinner even with a broken ankle. He has his crutches, could bring a stool or rolling chair into the kitchen, or get everything to the table and sit to do the prep. Instead, he made chili in a slow cooker and had pre-made salads delivered from the store. I wound up making something for myself instead and told him how I was getting fed up with him disregarding my wishes and feelings. He told me I'm being bossy and need to cut him some slack and he'd go stay with a friend. He's been there a whole day and was short with me when I've called to get him to talk about this. I don't think I'm asking for too much from him to just cook dinner since he's home, but am I the jerk? Edit. Okay, I get it, I'm the jerk here and the daughter of the devil. Some of you are very protective of your soup and sandwich combo. You have had it. I just can't stand it because I ate too much of it growing up. I will take today and tomorrow off and apologize to my husband and do some nice things for him. I'll talk to him about having one of our family members come and help me with meal prep. I sincerely thought sitting on a chair was a viable option since he'd be off his foot. Guess I was wrong. You're the jerk. He should be off his foot as much as possible. Also, he made dinner. Exactly, he's doing the best he can. OP is insane to expect nothing around the household would be different during her hubby's recovery. I have a feeling her tune would take a 180 if she was the one with a broken ankle. For real, in sickness or in health, OP, you're supposed to be there for him as his wife, not as a customer at his restaurant. He's trying his best for you. Don't expect him to be cooking like Gordon Ramsay. You're the jerk. The man is injured. How much do you expect him to do? It's not safe to sit and cook. God forbid the pot or something hot falls on him. You're the jerk. He's home from work because he's recovering from surgery, but you expect him to stand in the kitchen every night and bring you a multi-course meal? I had my foot reconstructed in January, and it's August, and I'm just now recovering. Yeah, you're the jerk. He's trying, and you are belittling his effort. Who gives a hoot about what you want right now? Your husband had major surgery less than a week ago. a particular surgery that I know can take a person up to 4 months to recover from. So he doesn't need to be on his feet, even with the crutches. He needs to be in bed resting and recovering, not catering to a royally spoiled pain like you. If anything, it should be the other way around, since he's genuinely hurt and in pain while you're just a pain. So yeah, you're the jerk. Wow, Reddit is siding with the husband instead of the wife? The only time this happens is when the dude is a bigger loser of the two. Reddit be like, oh look, a weakling whose wife bosses him around. Let's root for him because we're losers too. Not the jerk, OP. Your husband is using his little hurting footsie to be a slacker. However, it wouldn't be right if you were the one pulling this crap either, which you're not. Edit. I get that you're all mad about what I said. This is because, unlike you, I'm not a victim. If my comment had been about how much my foot hurts all the time, aka how sad my life is, you all would have been upvoting me instead. But alas, because I am logical, assertive, and intelligent, you're unable to process what I've said. You want to know why I'm the first female to be the head of my department for a Fortune 500 company and I'm currently in charge of 83 people? Because I'm not a loser like the average user here on Reddit. Have a day. Wonder who peed in her Cheerios? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. If only I could get Reddit boy to cook for me. Problem is, the only thing he knows how to make is ramen. That's why his head looks like that. Am I the jerk for openly laughing at my ex for punishing our daughter for breaking the Wi-Fi? My ex and I have been divorced for 11 years. We've both remarried. We have a 17-year-old together. She has several step-siblings and half-siblings on my side, and then 2 half-siblings on her dad's, 4, 4, and 5. We never force her to babysit, but she'll do it in exchange for other chores and babysit for other people's kids for extra cash, and I think she secretly likes it more than she lets on. She's a good kid. She's saving up for some things, so unusually she offered to babysit her dad's kids, who are 4 and 5, as much as he would let her during her recent 2-week stay. He of course jumped at the opportunity to have a few date nights with his wife. I barely know his kids, so can't make a judgment, but per my daughter, they're boring and have too much TV and tablet time. But in my ex's defense, they both work full-time jobs, whereas at our house, she has a live-in grandma and a stepdad that works from home, plus more older kids, so it's easier for us to keep the kids from having too much screen time and give them attention. And we have a backyard. They live in a condo. But at the end of her visit, her dad called me, obviously upset. He said that our 17-year-old was going to be grounded for her last night with them because she messed with the Wi-Fi. I thought he meant parental controls or something, so was concerned, and then he clarified that she had been turning off the Wi-Fi while babysitting and telling the kids it was broken. And, oh well, I guess we'll have to play a game now. She openly told her dad it was because she was bored. I'm not sure if either kid mentioned it to the parent, but I guess not enough, because it took them a few date nights to realize what was going on. Once I fully understood what my ex was saying, I couldn't help but laugh and say, "You're mad at her for playing with your kids instead of just watching TV with them?" And he was like, "She's not their parent. It was too controlling. She lied to them." I was like, "She did you a favor. They even did a craft with her, and he got upset at me and said that this was where her attitude came from." Ironically, her grounding was taking away her devices for the night. She didn't even mention the punishment to me, but I'm still in hot water with my ex for undermining his parenting. He actually wanted me to have my own talk with her and potentially continue the punishment, or at least the conversation in some way, which we both do for actual offenses, but I refused. She's not the kind of kid who would tell her dad or stepmom to their faces she thought his kid should have less screen time, but he might have picked up on her feelings anyway, so maybe that's where this is coming from. Not the jerk. Your daughter is resourceful, creative, and engaging. You see the value in her decision. He has limited views and is not applying critical thinking. No punishment necessary. She deserves a raise. Not the jerk. But I would just tell him he's a hypocrite, and if he's trying to create reasons that his about-to-be an adult daughter doesn't want to see him as soon as it's her choice, he's doing it. Also, good luck getting her to babysit now that you've punished her for doing what any normal person would say is a fantastic job. Am I the jerk for selling my brother's Pokemon cards and refusing to pay him back? My brother, male 22, and I, male 19, have always been avid Pokemon fans since childhood. Over a decade, we've probably amassed an estimated 1,000 cards. Recently, my brother began moving out of the house. In the process of helping him, I happened to stumble across his deck of Pokemon cards and began shuffling through them. Now, given recent peaked interest around these cards, I knew there was potential for genuine value. While peeping around, I happened to stumble across a few recognizably rare cards in pretty good condition. I'd say around X5s, excellent condition according to PSA standards. I got the cards appraised the next day, and their value was estimated at around 4.3 thousand altogether. I ended up selling them for a higher price through a private, organized sale with a collector. I eagerly told my brother about the earnings, but he became infuriated. He says I'm the jerk for refusing to give him the full value worth of the cards. I told him without me, they never would have even seen the light of day. I tried negotiating, giving him a cut of the profits, but he refused to even consider it. Now for the past few days, he's been sulking around the house, refusing to even acknowledge my presence. It's bad timing. My brother is leaving in a few days, and I don't want to end on bad terms with him. So, am I the jerk? Key details. My brother and I are extremely close. It is likely that those cards are both a combination of mine and his. I only request a cut of the payment as I'm the one who put in the effort to find the cards and appraise them. You're the jerk and a criminal. All of the money is his. What you're doing is theft. Felony theft at that. You're the jerk. You stole something that you agree belonged to him, valued it, and illegally stole it. Selling anything that isn't yours just because it has a high sale value is not acceptable, especially if you plan to keep the proceeds for yourself. You don't have the right to sell them or the money just because you put in the effort to appraise and sell them. Not even to ask his brother first before selling them. What if, even though they were buried away, they had some sentimental value and you just sold them without asking? Now they're just gone and no chance of getting them back, because doubt some collector will part with them now. Not the jerk. Your brother should be thanking you for getting rid of that crap, to be honest. I've seen so many guys who are in their 20s and 30s and still into their Pokemon, Nintendo, anime, and all this other stuff that is made for kids. Being obsessed with that junk into your adulthood will stunt your mind, development, and growth. I've had tons of friends over the years, and any of them who were into that crap into adulthood never made it anywhere. Myself and all of my friends who actually have decent lives, we don't want anything to do with that kind of garbage. This reminds me of my cousin who constantly complains that women don't like him. Well, gee, maybe it's because you're obsessed with anime, Nintendo, and stupid magic fantasy cards. You really think you're the kind of guy that a woman will want? It really is sad how many guys play video games past the age of 18. They never get anywhere in life, but to be honest, it's completely their own fault. Speaking of Pokemon, who's your favorite Pokemon of all time? Please let us know in the comments. I always thought Reshiram was pretty cool. A compiled list of irritating things customers commonly do. This is a list I've created over time while working in a restaurant. It includes all of the most common complaints I hear from servers talking about their customers, and honestly has been quite entertaining to make. Here we go. Parents asking you to wait for their kid to say thank you. I don't have all day. Train your dog, Rebecca. This applies to people who expect me to wait around a good 3 to 6 minutes. Customers who say they're ready to order so that you stay at the table, then make you stand there for approximately 7 business days. When they bring you into the argument about who's taking the bill. I'll tip more. You probably both won't. When they seat themselves. Bonus points if it's a reserved table on a busy night. When they complain that their well-done steaks haven't come out within 8 minutes of them ordering. Customers who ask you for something multiple times when you haven't even left the table. Yes, I remember that ketchup you asked for 4 seconds ago. Yes, your appetizer is on its way, like I said. I cannot just spawn it into existence before I step away. Customers who ask you for something and then ask the next server they see for the same thing within 60 seconds. When they ask if you can make their food fast because they're in a hurry. Don't go out to eat 20 minutes before a concert on a Saturday night. I don't know. When they hand you the gift card and a credit card at the same time and say, run the gift card first. No crap. I was planning on running the card first and trashing the gift card. Parents who allow their kids free range of the restaurant as if it were a daycare. If I accidentally run into little Timmy and I spill all my drinks, you're buying the tab. Customers who act like they're your best friend and you're the best server they ever had, then stiff you. Tipping with kindness. Customers who ask you to turn the AC down. Yes, ma'am. Let me call corporate for you really quick. Split tabs in a large group. If all 10 of you have 10 separate cards, then I'm sure you have Zelle and can send money to a friend. If you don't trust your friends, then maybe don't go out to eat in a large party with them. Customers who claim they have an allergy just because they really don't like something. I make sure to tell them it'll take extra long since we have to decontaminate the whole space, then see how they really feel about that allergy. When a new server doesn't understand seat numbers and you have to auction off, but no one remembers what they got or cares to listen. So you're standing there with food for 5 minutes. When customers just straight up ignore you. If I get to the table and they don't even look up, I walk away. It's basic respect. I'll come back when you're ready to place your drink order and get started, because you clearly are not ready right now. When you already gave them something they asked for, but they're too distracted to have seen it, so they get irritated and ask again. It's sitting right there. Customers who decide to wave their arms around or snap for your attention. If you can't use your words, I can't use mine. I guess we'll be miming at each other for the rest of the night. When they ask for things one by one every time you get back to the table, that's when you start taking a long time. So next time you come back, they have time to think about everything they need and list it out. When they modify dishes and don't like the modifications, I always warn them if it's weird, and no, I won't take it off the check because you specifically asked for it. Customers who ask 20 questions about things that are all clearly listed on the menu. If you need to know the 10 ingredients in the salad, it's actually all listed right there. Edit. I'd like to add, for all the non-servers who got offended by this list, this is my internal thoughts. I feel like you seem to forget this. I don't go to a table and treat them like jerks, I just deal with it. Maybe you are the golden egg in a field of rotten ones and you actually will tip more. Hurrah, props to you. But when you work a job every single day and you get the same results from the same situations, you can begin to categorize certain things internally and have a general expectation of how they will play out. Thanks for your feedback. Am I the jerk for refusing to choose between my daughters? Husband and I have 2 daughters, Erica, who's 23, and Sarah, who's 25. Much to my disappointment, they've never gotten along. Even as kids, they were always fighting. I had always hoped they would grow out of it, but it just never happened. I've tried very hard to encourage them to grow together, as it was always my wish for them to be best friends and take care of each other when I'm gone. Nothing worked, and they seemed bent on hating each other. Some backstory. When Sarah moved out for college, she stopped talking to Erica entirely. This seemed really harsh to me, and I told her that. During this time, I grew closer with Erica as she was still at home, and Sarah seemed to want nothing to do with us. We were both hurt by Sarah's actions. When Erica went to college, Sarah seemed to make an effort to get along with her, and I was really excited. But something happened. Sarah said that Erica was bullying her and blocked her on her phone. Erica told me that Sarah had blocked her, so I texted Sarah demanding to know why. Sarah said that Erica was name-calling and blowing up her phone. I told Sarah she needed to get over it because family is family and you can't just block family for no reason. It seemed very immature to me and I was very annoyed. It's been about 2 years and Sarah hasn't had a relationship with Erica since. Every time I see Sarah, I try to remind her that Erica loves her and tell her about all the realities of the situation, that Sarah is successful and Erica just gets jealous sometimes. Sarah always seems really upset when I bring up Erica and gets moody. Sarah is now getting married. At Sarah's engagement party, to which Erica was not invited, which really disappointed me, I told Sarah that Erica was happy for her, but it was hard for her, having her sister be successful like this. Sarah seemed annoyed and brushed me off. Since the party, I've been trying to get a straight answer from Sarah as to whether Erica is invited to the wedding. I brought it up a few times when Sarah was talking about the wedding and she ignored me. Eventually, she snapped at me that she hasn't had a relationship with Erica in many years and she didn't know why you would expect her to be there. I was horrified. In my view, Sarah's childish, vengeful antics have gone too far. You just don't treat family like this. Not inviting them to your wedding? My heart is broken as I want them to take care of each other and I still don't know why they refuse to do so. I want nothing to do with the wedding at this point. I'll attend, but I have no desire to help a daughter who treats family like this. I feel like Sarah is just asking me to pick between her and her sister, and I want nothing to do with it. My husband thinks I might be being a little harsh, but Erica agrees with my decision. So Reddit, am I the jerk for refusing to pick between my daughters by not supporting my oldest decision to not invite her sister to her wedding? Edit, many people are asking what Erica did to cause Sarah to cut her off. I don't totally know. Sarah just told me that Erica was bullying her. Sarah sent me the screenshots, but that was many years ago, and I don't like getting involved in their fights anyways. Sarah is apparently also still mad about some things that happened when Erica was 16. A close friend of Sarah's passed, and I had to take Sarah to the funeral, causing Erica to miss a sports competition. Erica was really upset and said some terrible things to Sarah, but Erica was only 16 and didn't know better. She had never had a friend pass before. Sarah is apparently still mad about that, which I think is evidence of how she can be really resentful. You're the jerk. Blocking family for no reason? She literally gave you a very detailed list of reasons. How come you're always making excuses for one of your kids and always brushing off all issues with your other one? It's so pathetic that OP is playing dumb about not understanding why Sarah doesn't like Erica. There's willful ignorance and there's denial. This is definitely the latter. She says she doesn't want to get involved in their fights, but what she really means is she refused to do her job as a parent and expected shared DNA to fix all relationship problems. Now that she's reaping what she sowed, she's going all surprised Pikachu face. Makes me wonder what other problems the girls must have due to her ill-fit parenting. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.